Welcome to this episode of the Down the Pub podcast. On this episode, I am joined by Northern Colorado Hailstorm FC's head coach. Did I say that right?
Correct, yeah.
Love it. Eamon Zayed, welcome to the show, man. I really appreciate you hanging out with us.
No problem. Enjoy, or thank you for obviously bringing me on.
Yeah, it's I was really excited to have you on the show just to actually chat about, because you've had an incredible career, and obviously you were coming to the end of it, but then you dropped the amazing news about your first head coach role. So how did the opportunity arise?
Yeah, it was kind of left field. So the last couple of years, I obviously was at USL League One team Chattanooga Red Wolves with Stephen Beattie, who I think was on the show there last year. And when I went there at the end of 2018, I agreed to go there, and I think I was in Charlotte Independence at the time, and Jim McGuinness was coming in to coach Charlotte Independence, and they had offered me a 2-year contract to stay on and play. But my old coach from Indy 11, Tim Hankinson, was taking over Chattanooga Red Wolves, and he said, "Listen, come into Chattanooga Red Wolves, play, and we'll transition you into coaching." And I was like, "That's brilliant." I just finished my UEFA B. I was going to start my UEFA A, and I thought, like, what an opportunity to kind of just start, because I still wanted to play. Absolutely loved playing, still wanted to play, but also kind of dip my feet into coaching. So that's where it was the last couple of years. So when I left Chattanooga Red Wolves at the end of last year, I wasn't sure, to be honest, what path I was going to go. I had just finished my UEFA A license, still wanted to play, still had that love and kind of felt I could still play at this level. But I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I talked to a lot of people about a lot of different roles, whether it was playing, whether it was player coach, general manager roles. And then I guess I got in contact with Northern Colorado Hailstorm probably January time, and we just kept in contact. A couple of months later, another chat, which eventually led to me flying over and meeting the owner of the club and just having a proper chat about things, and kind of finding out more about the club and what kind of role he saw me, where he saw me fit into the club, and that's where we kind of just sat down, and yeah, we agreed that it was probably it was something that he saw me in a role as head coach, technical director. I thought it was a fantastic opportunity and role to kind of get into a brand new, clean slate franchise and build something. So that's kind of how it came out. Like, I didn't expect it to kind of arise like that, but absolutely delighted. Honestly, what an opportunity,
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like, it's not every day somebody hands you the keys to a new football club, right? So it's kind of nice. But and I've been looking up online there, like, so it seems like it's not just the football club. Like, there's the big I think it's in behind you there, like the football legends, or the future legends. Like, there's a big complex and hotel going in and everything like that. So like, how excited are you to get like a team in there, like in such an incredible facility?
Yeah, it's going to be one of the best in the country, I believe. It's definitely going to be the best in USL League One. Probably anything I've seen in USL Championship is going to be up there or better than. So look, the owner's a great guy. His name is Jeff Gotowski, and basically his background is baseball. I mean, he is, amongst other things, other businesses that he has, but in terms of sport, his love is baseball. And he owned a minor league baseball team for the last 13 years that are affiliated with the Angels, the LA Angels. They're called the RMLs, and they're based out of Utah. And I think, a passion of his and something that he always wanted to do was build a baseball complex.
Yeah.
That would, obviously host a minor league team, but also allow anybody within the community, any kind of background, to be able to play baseball. And he had a few options to build in a few different places. And then look, Fort Collins came up, and Fort Collins is an unbelievable area of Colorado. It's just grown. It's getting massive. Fort Collins, Windsor, Loveland, kind of that surrounding area. The opportunity came up to build this complex there, and as I said, it started with just a baseball complex, and then he decided that he was going to delve into multiple sports. Soccer and baseball are going to be the two main sports there. They're going to have, obviously, we're going to have a professional men's and women's team. The women's team will come in 2023, I believe, and then the baseball team as well, the minor league baseball team. But there's going to be volleyball, there's going to be lacrosse. I mean, they were even talking about what is it, pickleball.
Yeah.
Pickleball.
Love it.
It's getting bigger here in the States. So they're going to have a pickleball area as well. Like they're really, really open-minded, innovative owners, and they want to kind of delve into all different kind of sports as well. You know, the sports that maybe are not the most popular sports. So it's going to be a fantastic complex. I mean, there's going to be, I don't know how, multiple baseball fields, multiple soccer fields, a big full-size indoor soccer dome, a indoor baseball dome as well. Obviously, you have your stadium. You have there's going to be hotels and condos going up, restaurants. I mean, it's a whole community going up here. You know?
Yeah, it's as I said. Like I was looking up the thing before we came on, and I was like, I saw there was a big baseball thing. I think one of the owners is like an ex Major League Baseball player and stuff like that. But like, you were obviously part of Chattanooga's inaugural season, so you've kind of been there a little bit. Obviously, it's a different seat you're sitting in now, but like, how much of that experience can you take into what you're doing now, and have you reached out to Chattanooga for advice?
I probably will not be reaching out to Chattanooga for advice, to be honest, for different reasons. Don't go there.
Okay.
I know. Look, I mean, that experience will definitely stand me in great stead, because look, 2019 USL League One was initiated, and they began play then, and obviously being involved in Chattanooga Red Wolves from the start, trying to build a whole new roster, technical staff, you know, getting training facilities, and you know, loads of small issues, like even like, you know, players coming over, housing, visa issues, all this kind of stuff. The first year, you're always dealt a lot of issues, problems that you probably don't foresee at the start. And we went through a few of them at Chattanooga Red Wolves. And I was fortunate enough again to be on that coaching staff to kind of see and be involved in all those kind of issues. So that will definitely stand to me. You know, and being involved in League One since the beginning as well, I know the standard and kind of what the level of play is, and I do believe I know what it takes to be successful in this league. I know the players inside out and the teams inside out and the other coaches. So yeah, absolutely, it's going to definitely stand to me, and I'll learn from those experiences. I'll take some of them on, you know. And I'm joking, like there's a couple of people from Chattanooga that I'm still very familiar with, you know, and they reached out and congratulated me. So no, it's all good there. But I know I feel like I genuinely, like, at 100% confident saying, like, I believe this is like the perfect role for me. Like right now, I think it's absolutely a perfect role for me to step in. If it was a USL Championship team, I would have loved the opportunity, but I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have been as confident in terms of saying like, oh yeah, I'm going to be successful and do this and do that. I think this is the perfect role, absolute perfect role for me.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to see like how happy you can see it already, like when you're talking about it, how pumped up you are for it and stuff like that. Like so like, I mean, like obviously Mr. Beattie, as you mentioned, was on the show, and he's back in Ireland playing with Cork and doing his thing. But did you have any offers yourself to keep playing, or did you like just come to the decision, you know, like I know players hit that wall sometimes when it's just like, you know it's time. Did you have any offers yourself to keep going?
I did, and I spoke to multiple teams. I wanted to stay in the States. I didn't want to go back home. So I wasn't entertaining any kind of, you know, talks with any other teams from any other countries except for the States, because I wanted to stay here. I do really enjoy here. I love it here. So I talked to a couple of teams about staying on, and again, you know, player coaching roles and that kind of stuff. But no, ultimately, I there was two roles that I felt I may be offered. One was this. I wasn't sure. You know, nothing was guaranteed, and you know, but I had kind of hopes that something was going to materialize here. This is what I wanted. There was another role that I was offered, and it was again not playing. It was going to be a kind of like a technical director role within a youth club, and they also had a semi-professional senior team, and that was appealing as well. Like I love playing and I still wanted to play, but for me to continue playing, I needed to be like the teams I talked to about playing were just, they were okay teams. They weren't great. They weren't going to challenge. They were mid-table to bottom table teams. You know, and they also saw me. I mean, look, nowadays, which kind of, it gets to me a little bit, ageism. You know, a lot of teams in age, and they don't really know and see and think, you know, how fit are you, and are you like, you know, are you as fit as, you know, I'm 37 years of age. Am I as fit as a 25-year-old, 26-year-old, 24-year-old? Well, I mean, I don't think age has anything to do with it. I mean, you're either as fit as a 24-year-old or you're not. I mean, there's 40-year-olds, 45-year-olds that are extremely fit. You know, I don't believe in that. And I think people last year at the top level have proved it, like the likes of, you know, I mean, he's at the top level, but like, you know, Ronaldo and Ibrahimovic. I mean, yeah, they're the top level. They're not the same, you know, they're not our level, but they're doing it at that level. They're still doing it at that world class level. And they're 35 and 37 or 38 respectively. I think actually Ibrahimovic is even a little bit older than that.
Yeah, I think he's 39 actually, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so, I mean, you know, I always felt I kept myself in good nick and I was fit enough and I could score goals at the level that I am at right now. But yeah, you know, clubs didn't want to kind of deal with kind of older players, and then they talk to you and say, yeah, we'd like to get you in, and you could be like an impact sub, you know. And like, in fairness, I've never been an impact sub in my life, and it's not something that I kind of that's not motivating to me. Like, I wanted to play on, but I wanted to play on if it was the right opportunity, and that would have been either a club challenging for a title because I still want to win, or else somewhere where I'm going to play week in, week out and score goals. And the offers that I had were not that. So I knew anyway that like I wanted to transition into coaching, and that's what I'd done for the last couple of years. And if the role had come up, I was going to take it. It's just, I mean, everyone says it. All my mates who've gone into coaching and have retired, you know, years earlier than me, they said like, you're never going to retire, Eamon. Like, you just love it. Like, you just need, like, here's me doing my coaching licenses and still talking about playing, because I still have that love of playing. And I honestly, if I could have, I would have played until I was 50 years of age. I just didn't want to stop. Honestly, I didn't want to stop. Like, I love playing too much. But no, this is a fantastic role to kind of, I mean, this definitely eases off the, you know, any kind of, you know, ill will feeling that I had about stopping playing. This is perfect.
You could have been like that guy in Japan, was he, like 55, 56? He's still going strong. So, but I mean, like, there's some team in Windsor in Colorado that's going to get a good player on a Thursday night in their 5-a-side team or something like that,
absolutely,
right? So,
yeah, absolutely. I'm ready for it.
But it's like, I go back to the ageism thing. Like to me, that it doesn't make much sense in that, like, if you're fit, obviously, like, the other players around you are going to like learn a lot from you, because you mightn't have the extra yard of pace anymore, because obviously as you get older you kind of lose that kind of stuff, but you know where to go, you know where like your experience like teaches you when you drop off a defender, when to make that run, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't understand like why somebody wouldn't want you to be in there, like being a mentor to like the kids that are coming through. Like, it's crazy.
I think it's lazy recruiting. I think it's lazy. I think a coach just looks at an age and just straight away goes, nah, you know, and has a preconception of what that player is going to be like physically, which I don't agree with. I think if you're going to do it, you do it right. So, you know, look at the player, look at, like, let's take Ibrahimovic, for instance, right? I mean, I know it's a high level, but let's just take him, for instance. Like, what was his attributes growing up? Like, what made him the player that he was? Like, he was a physically big guy, like, but he never relied on pace. He wasn't slow, but he never relied on pace. his best part of it, he was a good finisher, great finisher, great intelligence, and again, target man. Like, he didn't lose that as he got older. You know, he still had those qualities. And like, you need to look at a player, and if you have a player and his main attributes growing up and his biggest asset was pace, well, all right, well then fair enough. If he's a little bit older, he might lose that yard. But like, if you know, you can look at loads of examples, like a Teddy Sheringham, who again played on for years and years. Like, again, his greatest attributes was how clever he was, how smart he was. You know, so I think you need to look at the player and the individual. Like, taking me for example, like, I never relied on pace. I wasn't going to outrun a defender. I never had that. You know, when I was playing, even when I was, as I said, 23, 24, like, mine was more like just clever movement and finishing. I guess they were my two main attributes, and a target man. I mean, I still had that. I didn't lose that. If anything, I felt like I got more clever as I got older. So I don't know. I think if you're going to recruit somebody that's slightly older, if you want, you know, look at what his attributes were when he was 5 years younger. There's certain attributes that you don't lose, you know. So that pisses me off big time when people just say, they look at somebody and just go, he's too old, and you know,
you can see all the players over 36 in the USL now filling out their CVs to send over to you. You'll be getting a phone call from Beatty, and you'll be getting a phone call from Richie Ryan. So
do you know what? Take Richie Ryan for example. I mean, he's flying. El Paso at the moment are the best team in the USL Championship.
Yep.
Richie is anchoring that. Like, Richie's, I don't know, he's 35, is he?
36, I think he is. Yeah, he set up their goal there, went their equalizer tonight. He took the corner. It was like the 96th minute or something like that.
I've watched him this year. He's playing as good as he ever has.
Yeah.
I mean, Benjamin Button over there in El Paso. It's fucking, like, you know. I mean, and he's number 6 midfield role. I mean, you don't see it. Like, he's so smart. Like, I watched it. He's not getting overrun because he's smart. He knows where to be. You know, where like, and he's a great example. You know, of somebody who never relied. He was not a pacey guy. He never was. He was just clever, and he still has that. You know.
Yeah, he's a joy to watch. I really enjoy watching him. So, like, I'm sure you've been kind of keeping your eye on what's happening in Irish football. So, how impressed have you been with the Irish team's performance in Europe this season? It's been a bumper year.
Yeah, they've done really well. Like, really, really well. I mean, Bows were really unlucky the other night. Should have brought it to extra time, and who knows after that. In fairness, they were playing against a very good team as well. But they were at that terrific run. You know, Dundalk as well. I mean, I feel like they should have beaten Vitesse, however you pronounce them. I feel like they should have beaten them after that result away from home, and they had the chances as well in the game to beat them. So I'd say they felt, you know, they could have done a little bit better. And then look, Shamrock Rovers onto the next stage. Is it Flora Tallinn they're playing?
Yeah, so they have a pretty decent chance of going on. Like, I mean, like that. Like, don't take anything for granted, obviously, but I mean, that kind of really gives them a really good chance.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're as good as the team they're facing, and they have a really good team and squad. And Stephen Bradley has them. They're well prepared and set up to play against any team in Europe and to go out and get a result. I mean, they have good players all over the park. So, I mean, I feel like, you know, when I was playing in Europe years and years ago, you know, with Drogheda United and Sport Fingal, and I remember the one thing that always stood out to me was the strength and conditioning and the physical shape of the teams that we played against. Like, I always felt like we were, you know, we could play ball, and we were decent, and we were as good as some of the teams we played against. But the one thing that always stood out to me was just their conditioning, their shape. They were like stronger and faster than us. I never forget, I was playing one-on-one, or I thought it was. We played against Dynamo Kiev out there, and the ball over the top, and here's me running one-on-one with the goalkeeper. And next thing, the centre defender just out of nowhere, just, you know, straight past me, boom, and just takes the ball off me. And I remember going, like, what? Like, what happened there? Like, one-on-one. And I mean, he's just made me look like a mug. And I remember I was just thinking, like, the physical shape of these guys are just. And I think over the last, 5 to 10 years, definitely over the last 5 years, the conditioning has gotten so much better in Ireland. There's been a big emphasis on obviously the full-time teams, and even the teams that maybe aren't as full-time. They really have done really, really well to kind of close that gap in terms of strength and conditioning and fitness. And now you see it. Now you see like the likes of Shamrock Rovers and not getting overpowered, not getting physically dominated. They can go head to head with the teams. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, like I also think that myself that like the coaching's changed. I think that like back when you were playing and stuff like that, like almost like the coaches were treating them as if it was just a normal game in the League of Ireland. Whereas I think now like they're trying to play to their strengths, and like I mean even like last year against AC Milan when Shamrock Rovers were playing at home, like they didn't get overrun because I think that they set themselves up into a system that didn't allow AC Milan to like get in behind them and stuff like that. So like, did you think as well, like looking at it as well, did you think that the coaching's like moved on? Because I mean, like we all want the League of Ireland to be successful, and I think that Europe's where it starts. I think so.
Yeah, no, I do. I think the tools are out there for coaches to get better. And there are, like, I mean, years ago it was, and there's some very good coaches in the league, years ago, and there's, but it was kind of old school mentality, and they had, let's say, done the coaching qualifications years and years ago, and things were just a little bit different. I think now you do have the likes of, as I said, Stephen Bradley and obviously Vinnie Perth, who's gone back there, Rory Higgins and Keith Long, helped by Trevor Crowley. You do have coaches that I do feel are just that little bit more prepared and have that, I don't know, just, I'm not gonna say the modern day coach, but I think they are able to kind of sit back, analyze the teams that they're playing against, and not just go like, I wouldn't say blindsided into games but I do just feel like that they do have that little bit better know-how and knowledge, and the coaching has definitely got better. I mean, just in the courses that I've done there over the last 5 years, the FAI, they honestly have some unbelievable coaches, some fantastic coaches, and you see it in the underage sides. Jason Donoghue and Tom Mowen, and I mean, there's loads of them, but they've done really well. Like Collie O'Brien, like the coaching has definitely got stronger and better, and they're more, as I said, they're just better equipped to deal with teams that they face against.
So what's next? Like you've got your UEFA A license, your pro license next, right? So
That's right.
So what's that going to entail then from where you are now to finish off your badges?
Oh, do you know what? I definitely want to do the pro license, but I'm going to see. I'll give it a few years. I'm not going to just jump into it straight away. I tell you, I wouldn't mind doing my USA just to kind of compare it and just to kind of see what it's like in terms of the US qualifications. So I might do that before I do my UEFA Pro. It's definitely something I want to do. And I think, I do want to go. I mean, look, I'm starting off in coaching and my first head coaching role. I do want to go. As I was a player, the same as I was as a player, like I have aspirations to go on and do really well. I do. I want to win. I want to succeed. I want to go as far as I can go. And that's the top level. I don't want to just go, all right, well, I just want to be, coach whatever level. So I do want to get my pro license. But I'll give it a couple of years, to be honest, before I do that.
So you're obviously like seeing a lot of what's happening in the States firsthand because you're a player. Now you're going to become a head coach. So like the States just won the Gold Cup. They beat Mexico, their big rivals. We're seeing so many of their young players move to Europe. Like Sammy Vines from Colorado has just moved to Antwerp. So like in the time you've been there, I know you've only been there like 5 years or so, but like what is it about the setups that they have there that is producing this talent? Like it's fantastic. Like that, and I can honestly say, like in 10 years, I can see the States being like one of the world powers in like men's football. So like, what is it about the setups there at the clubs that's bringing these kids in?
Well, to be honest, I think the biggest thing is for me is that the amount of kids that are playing now, like in the state, it's just getting, I mean, more and more and more. Like I actually just had this discussion with somebody there the other day. We were talking about the different sports here in the States: baseball, American football, basketball, and they felt, and I'm not disagreeing, that in terms of kids, that there's more kids playing soccer than any other sport in the States. And I remember when I came over 6 years ago to 2016 to Indianapolis, Indy. I remember like soccer was, I mean, it was big, or so it seemed. I don't know how big it was, but over that year to 2 years, I remember seeing how bigger it got in Indy. And that was obvious to see for me, just being in Indiana, and I wasn't sure what it was like everywhere else in the States. But then obviously moving on to Charlotte and to Tennessee, and just getting involved in coaching in some of these youth soccer teams and clubs around those states that I was at. The amount of I was blown away with the amount of kids that was playing. I didn't expect there to be so many kids signing up and playing. And there's thousands and thousands. And I think I don't know. I mean, I don't know the reason why there's more and more kids playing soccer now than there was, say, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I don't know what happened that made, more kids sign up and play, but it's great for the sport. And I do think, I agree with you. I do think, 2021, you have the World Cup coming to the States in 2026. I do think that in you're right, in 5 to 10 years, it's like the United States possibly could be a powerhouse, because they're going to produce so many of these young kids. Like all these young kids that are playing right now. I mean, just think of the amount of them that are going to come through in 5 to 10 years. It's like, I mean, I don't know what the coaching is like. I do think coaching in the States, the licenses has gotten better as well. So I'm told. The courses have gotten better. I remember years ago, people didn't really have anything, like they weren't saying fantastic things about the licenses over here, for whatever reason. But I do think that they've gotten stronger. So that's only going to help as well in terms of the coaching that the kids are getting. But I do remember reading something on Germany years ago when they had their golden run. I think they went through a lull of just, they weren't great or whatever it was, but they were putting a lot of money into young kids coming through. And they said, look, wait, you'll see, 5 to 10 years, you'll see what we have then. And then, yeah, they start producing players, and they still are producing players, and they obviously went on and won a World Cup and other things. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you see that. I do. One thing that I find interesting, you mentioned Sammy Vines, who's a left back, and I played with him in Charlotte Independence, actually. Great guy, great kid, great potential, and he's done really well in Colorado Rapids. Well, it's mad because there seems to be like a lot of really, really strong fullbacks coming out of the States and going over to Europe. And that seems to be the position, fullbacks. And I don't know why it's concentrated on the fullbacks that are going over and doing really well. I think, I mean, one thing that when I'm thinking of an American soccer player, one thing that they have athleticism, and technically they are as efficient as anywhere else. I think the one thing that they lack is football IQ, football intelligence. I think that is the one aspect of the game that they kind of lack and they need to get better at. And I don't know if, I was thinking, like, is it like fullback, right? You have your athleticism, which you need to get up and down, and technically they're good. I don't know. Is it a position that like coaches just feel that I can coach a fullback easier than I can a midfielder or a forward or a defender? I don't know, but it's something that I've noticed that it seems to be in that fullback area that the Americans are thriving right now.
I think you're right. I think it's like the athletic side of it, like the conditioning, as you were talking about before, like the schools, like if you're part of any kind of athletic program, especially if they're going through the colleges in the States, like the facilities are amazing. So I think that's a big part of it, especially like the way the modern game is. You're not a fullback anymore, you're a wing back. So like you're just attacking. And I mean, a lot of the time it's being able to just like knock the ball past your defender and just run your arse off. I mean, like here in Canada, Alphonso Davies is like the big example, like, I mean, he's a left back, but he's a left winger too. And I think that a lot of that is for him too. He's just a really athletic kind of guy, and he's just kind of fit into into that position really, really well. So like I think myself, like looking at the States too, the USL has played a big part in it because, like as you said in Indy, like I mean, before the franchise came along, like there wasn't that really much for kids to see, like to go see a professional game or anything like that. And I think that's a big part of it. I think we'll probably see like that part of Colorado. Kids will start to get interested in as well because their families bring them out a day out on a Saturday. It's not an expensive day out. Like if you go to the NHL or to an MLS game, it's expensive. Go to USL, you're not going to pay as much. But I know there's talk of the MLS teams breaking off again and starting up their own reserve league. How much do you think? How much do you think that will hurt the USL going forward?
Well, firstly, I agree. USL is definitely helped progress soccer in the States. I think it's a fantastic organization. You know, and it's definitely helped develop soccer and players. When I first came over, it was the NASL. USL was around, but NASL was a Division 2. And you know, I enjoyed playing in the league, and it was a historic league. But you know, they weren't running it. It was run quite badly.
I always felt it was kind of like almost a retirement league, you know, like you had like Raul playing there or Marcus, which is great for people to get out and see, but you're not getting much from it. You know what I mean? Like you're getting bums on seats, but you know, you're not getting much on it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It wasn't a league for kind of youngsters to break into and excel, and it just wasn't set up that way. So I think the USL have done really, really well with obviously growing their brand. I mean, the USL Championship, there's, I don't know, 38 teams or something like that. Now, I think they've done really well, really clever to bring in USL League One. And again, they're only growing that. That's only going to get bigger and bigger. I mean, I've heard loads of different teams that want to come and join USL League One. And I think it's I think for me, USL League One is the most exciting league in the whole States. Because it's definitely I think the fastest growing league in terms of people wanting to come on, teams wanting to come on, but it's a fantastic kind of league for that young player. And I think they didn't have that young player that's come out of college, not ready for the MLS, and to kind of bridge that gap. Like, where do I go? Like, I want to play professional soccer. I want to kind of dip my feet in there and get that experience to go on. Because it's the only way. Like, I mean, it's the only way for kids to grow and develop and get better, because some kids are late developers and they just are not ready to go straight into an MLS team, or you know, the MLS team have other players that they're competing against, and you have to play professional soccer. Like, you have to get senior games in. So I think it's a fantastic league that will allow, you'll probably see more and more probably youngsters, whether they're like they break onto the US national team or other MLS teams or go over to Europe. And if you look at where did they come from, I'd say you'll see a lot of youngsters that like previous club, a team that was in the USL League One. Because USL Championship, they have that as well in the USL Championship, but it's a league for all ages, and there's a lot of teams that still want to compete and win. Whereas I feel like that USL League One is definitely more they look at kind of that younger player. Still want to win, don't get me wrong. I definitely want to win here, championship here, absolutely. But that development of a young player as well is important. So I think the USL have done really, really well. And again, it's only growing. I do believe that they're going to have a women's professional league as well in the next year or two, which again will only be fantastic for women's, because women's soccer is the biggest over here in the States, is the biggest in the world. So again, that's going to be unbelievable. MLS, your question, MLS, yeah, they're going to have a reserve league. MLS Next, it's called. I don't know. I'd have my doubts about that, because it is going to be an under 23 league. You know, it brings me back to when I think about the Premiership over in England, and they have a reserve league, and like, it just wasn't the same. Like, it wasn't like you just didn't get that competitive edge that you get in professional senior football. So I remember, like, a lot of teams would rather their players go out on loan to, whether it's a League One, League Two, Championship team in England, to get real experience, real professional experience before they came back. Because I played in these reserve leagues over in England, and they're like, it's just like a training game. it's not really competitive. So I would worry about that under 23 league for the MLS. Is it going to be just like a training game between two under 23 teams? So I don't know. I don't think it's going to. I don't think it's going to have an impact on USL at all. You may lose a few teams. You may lose a few MLS2 teams from USL. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because I think for the USL to continue growing, I think they're better off with just having independent teams, and just going themselves.
I totally agree with you. I think like if anybody's ever watched a USL team playing against like one of these two teams, like when they're playing away from home, there's never anybody in the stands, because like the fans ain't going to go to watch those unless it's a big player coming back from injury or something like that. So it's like, it just feels like not a great environment for, if you're playing for the reserve team, you don't really care because you're just trying to get up to the MLS team. But if you're playing, like if it's Chattanooga or Forward Madison or whoever who's playing against these guys, it's like, I've watched them on YouTube and it's just dead. Like when you watch USL teams, like, I mean, if you ever, like, I've watched a couple of games with Louisville, I've watched a couple of games with El Paso and Forward Madison and all that kind of stuff. The atmosphere is amazing. It's like, it looks so much fun. They all have their own supporters groups. Everybody's running behind it. And then you come along and then that same team plays in an empty MLS stadium and it just looks.
Yeah. And look, there's an emphasis on, like, you ask me, what's the most important thing? What's the emphasis on? It's on the results. I want to win. And then there's other things that come along the way, performance and all that kind of stuff. When you ask those, an MLS2 side, what's the most important thing? It's performance. It's trying to, win, lose or draw. They don't care. It's on the performance, to individual performance, and trying to get that kid to get into that MLS team. So it becomes, like, as I said, not as competitive. The game just doesn't become as competitive. So yeah, I agree, and you're right. I mean, look, some of these stadiums are fantastic. I mean, last year in Chattanooga, you go out to whether it's New England Revolution or whatever, and I mean, great stadiums when you play against some of these two teams. But you're right, they're empty. There's nobody there. So you kind of you arrive and you're like, this is great. Oh, look at this, and everybody's on their phone taking little videos of the stadium, and then as soon as the ball kicks off, that's kind of lost. It's like, well, it's kind of like, there's no atmosphere here. It's dead. Give me give me that Forward Madison Stadium, or give me like a Mike Carroll Stadium where Indy 11 play. Doesn't look great, but the atmosphere is fantastic.
And that's, as a player, like, I mean, like surely, like, it's better for you to be playing in front of a crowd, because that's going to get you game ready too, right? I mean, like, when you're making mistakes or whatever, and you've got home fans on your back and all that kind of stuff, that's part of your learning curve. And when you're, as you said, like in a 40,000 seater stadium and you can hear the referee's whistle echoing around, it just looks flat and dead. So yeah, I really hope that it's not the death knell for the USL, because, like, I mean, there's some fantastic franchises, and I really hope that, like,
I trust you. I think it'll actually only help it. I do. I think it'll only help it, and it'll grow even more when it'll be more competitive and more enjoyable when it's just independent teams. I genuinely believe that.
Oh, I really hope so. And the great thing for me is, like, here in Canada, I can watch all the games on YouTube, so I don't have to pay anything. I can just watch them away, and there's quite a good few Irish lads playing down there too. Like, I've had quite a few on the show, and it's great to see Irish players, like, do something different. Like, that. This is one of my questions I had for you. Like, and I'm sure you're asked this a million times, but you've never been afraid to travel. Like, I mean, you were player of the year at Derry. Like, I mean, like, so you should have had a million offers from Ireland or even in England or Scotland or whatever like that, but yet you chose to go to Iran. So you know what I mean? So, like, what is it? Are you an adventurer at heart, or is it just like they were offering you so much money you couldn't turn it down? Like, how did I, like, it just always kind of puzzled me why you would make that move.
Well, unfortunately, it wasn't the second one. The one. Look, I think I can actually probably trace it back to a couple of things. So 2008, right? We when I was playing for Drogheda United at the end of the year went into administration, and like anybody else, naturally I was thinking, right, where's next? I talked to a couple of teams back home, St. Pat's, I think I was close to signing for St. Pat's under Johnny McDonnell. But I remember there was a couple of players on my team, a guy called Joe Hendricks, Jonathan Tamboras, Adam Hughes, 2 Australian guys, Faz Kadosevic. And I remember one day they were chatting away to themselves, and I went over and sat beside them, and they said that they were going on trial to, the 4 of them were going over to Azerbaijan. And I was like, Azerbaijan, like what? Like, firstly, how are you even getting over to Azerbaijan? And they said, look, you know, obviously Drogheda United were coming towards the end of the contract in administration, so we all got in touch with agents from all over the world, and they said, look, they're looking for players in Azerbaijan. 2 of them, 2 of them were going somewhere else. So I said, all right, like, put me in touch with the agent. So they put me in touch with the agent. The agent got back to me and said, all right, well, look, I can send you to South Korea, which I went over with Adam Hughes on trial. That was a funny one. Jesus, that was a funny story. But, no, I thought I was in for the money then. I went over to South Korea real quick. I went over there for the week, and we played the first game and we won 6-2. I scored 2. Adam Hughes, who was playing midfield at the time, had a great game as well. So, you know, we trained the next day. Everything was fantastic. They had a representative come over to the hotel, and they were like, you know, listen, guys, you know, you've done really well in the game the other day, and we have one more game in the weekend, but, you know, I mean, it looks like the coaches and the team really want you. But, like, you know, we haven't discussed salary expectations. So I was like, all right, yeah. I hadn't got a clue. South Korea, I was like, I haven't got a clue what money's like over there. So me and John Tamboras are sitting there talking to his agent, and he says, look, I really apologize. You know, our team are not one of the biggest teams in South Korea, and, you know, I feel like almost embarrassed to tell you like what we can offer and stuff like that. And we're like, well, look, just go ahead. Like, what can you offer us? And he sits down and he goes, okay, well, listen, I can give you 400,000 for 1 year. And I'm there like pinching at him, like going, 400,000? Like what? And he's like, yeah, and we'll try and make a 50,000 signing on fee. And I'm going like, I mean, look, we just came from Drogheda and money's not like that at all. And I'm there pinching him, going, this is like, what? So me and him are trying to play it cool, go, yeah, I mean, it's not bad, like, you know. And he's like, look, if you do well here, we can get you to one of the bigger teams and you can make even more money and all this kind of stuff. And we're like, oh, all right, happy days. So anyway, he left, and me and him were like absolutely buzzing, going, oh my God, like what? This is great. Anyway, we went out, and the game we played on Saturday, I mean, I'll never forget it. We arrived, and I thought we were playing like against another local team, but it ended up being like just a training game between ourselves. And I mean, they didn't even have enough players to make up the team. So, like, you know, you had the equipment manager playing right back. You had honestly, you had like the 2 assistant coaches, one playing up forward, one playing centre back, and that kind of just threw me off my, like, because I was focused for a game, and it kind of threw me off. I was thinking, what's going on here? And I remember, like, Adam Hughes came off injured after about 20 minutes, so that was the end of his chances. They weren't going to sign him after that. And then I think because I was in that frame of mind, and I was inexperienced as well, you know, I don't know how many 1-on-1s I got, but like when I'm playing against in a real game, right? Like I'm 100% focused, and I, you know, and those chances, I like to think that I'll take most of them. But because it was like a training game, and as I said, they had the equipment manager playing, the assistant coaches playing. Like when I got those 1-on-1 chances, I kind of almost dealt with them as if it was like a bit of a joke. And I missed about 6 of them. I remember, like, after about 60 minutes, like, I was having such a stinker, I walked off myself. And I remember that the coach going, Eamon, where are you going? And I said, honestly, I've had enough. And I knew I had lost out on the contract. I was playing crap. Honestly, I was playing terrible. Like, I mean, honestly, no chance. I mean, I was never going to get offered that contract.
I could just imagine you like doing like the Balotelli thing against the Galaxy. Do you remember, like, he just?
Yeah, honestly, like, I was doing that. That's the kind of stuff I was doing. And I knew, like even after I'd done it, I'd be talking to myself going, Eamon, what are you doing?
There's another 50 grand gone. There's another 50 grand.
Yeah. I can tell you what I went back and signed for Sporting Bingo for. I mean, no, that was that got my mind kind of thinking like, all right, well, hold on. There's more to soccer than just Ireland and England. And I remember that opened my mind up. And I think a year later, 2010, the Libya national team asked me to come over and play. And I remember going over to Libya, and my mind was blown with the support that the soccer team got over there. I mean, it was unbelievable. And it was those two experiences that kind of said, you know what, well, hold on, Eamon, like there's so much more soccer out there, like not just Ireland, England, you know, and if I ever got the chance, I said, you know what, why not go experience it? Even if it's just for 6 months, why not? Just go and live it. And because I mean, you know, playing back in Ireland for so many years, I was fortunate enough to win everything I wanted to win. I think I won every single trophy there, an individual trophy in Ireland. Not bragging at all. Yeah, no, I mean, you know, I did, like, I mean, my last year at Derry, I wanted to the League Cup, which wasn't the biggest cup. I wanted to win that because I hadn't won that yet. I wanted to. I didn't want to win Player of the Year. Like, I mean, of course I did, but I hadn't set that goal out. But I definitely wanted to be top goal scorer in the league. And at the end of the year, I got all that. And when Iran offered me a deal, and I did, I had other offers. Stephen Kenny was going to Shamrock Rovers. He talked to me about that. I talked to Paul Cook about going to Sligo Rovers. I was thinking, like, if I went to those teams, what do I want to achieve? You know, what motivates me? And it was the Iran thing, just going over to a different culture and kind of seeing it. That's what motivated me. And playing in front of like thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I wanted to just go over, and I honestly thought it was just going to be 6 months and that would be it. But that kind of just trickled on from, you know, there, a couple of years there, and going over to Malaysia, and, you know, and then obviously going over to America. So, I mean, I'm delighted that I've done that, you know.
It's such a great tale for like young lads and young women, like, coming through the things. Like, I know you had a rough time. I watched your interview with Irish Football Fan TV, and you were talking about your time at Leicester City, and, like, you know, a lot of guys would probably have given up because, like, you know, you're at the place you want to be, the dream, and then it kind of gets snatched away from you by, like, just a clash of personalities. And the fact that there's so much more football out there, as you said, it's like such a great tale for people to look at. Like, I was talking to Lee Clark. He's played in the Premier League. He coached Birmingham City, and now he's in I think he's in Sudan, I think, managing. And it's like 60,000 people like come up to a game. Like what was it like playing? Like, you know, you're playing for Derry. Like, I mean, the Brandywell is a great stadium, but with 7,000 people, and then suddenly you're playing in front of 90,000. What was the change like for you?
I mean, it was, I guess, for me, it was just unbelievable. Like, I mean, I think there's two ways you can go when you're playing in front of 90,000 people. You either kind of shrink up and go, hold on, what? Like, and just like kind of be afraid to get on the ball, let's say, afraid to make a mistake. I didn't, for whatever reason, and you never know how your mind's going to work when you're in front of all those people. I always felt like, for me, I knew growing up that the bigger the game, the bigger the crowd, the better I played. I remember years ago, back in when I played for Drogheda United, Simon Webb and James Keddy, they used to say, Eamon, if you could just be as motivated against the so-called weaker sides, I mean, you'd be easily top goal scorer, because you always produce against the bigger sides. And I don't know, I just always had that motivation. So when I went over and played in front of 80, 90,000 people, I mean, I was buzzing. Like, I mean, I was like going, like, this is like a once in a lifetime. This is unbelievable. Like, I mean, and like the feeling of scoring a goal in front of that crowd, and, you know, just everybody just cheering and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that was the best feeling I've ever got in my life. And I mean, it was, it just, I don't know. Like whenever obviously during some of those games, obviously you miss chances and all that kind of stuff. I know it just never really affected me. I don't know. I just had this extra spring in my step, and it was funny. Like I remember the first game I played over in Iran, the Derby game, and it was 86,000 people. And I remember looking around my dressing room and going on, like, the lads were so scared. Like, you could see, like, I mean, it was such a big game, and they were just. And here's me thinking, like, I can't wait to get on this pitch. Like, I've nothing to lose. Like, I've nothing to lose. Like, I mean, and that's the way I played. It was just like, I had nothing to lose. And when you're kind of that loose, when you get those, especially as a forward, you get those chances. I always found, like, as a forward, the looser you were, the more chances you took. Because if you thought about it and it gets in your head, and you think about the crowd and all that kind of stuff, you snatch at a chance. You're not really composed. So I loved it, honestly. It was unbelievable. Like that, like, it was unbelievable. And again, it goes back to when I went over to Libya in 2010, my very first time friendly game in Libya, and I was in front of 60,000 people. And that's when I knew. I said, I have to continue playing. I have to, like, continue playing and traveling. Like, this is just, you can't beat this. Like, it's fantastic. Oh, yeah.
I just love like I watched the goals back, obviously, like your famous sort of hat trick, but like just the third goal, like how composed you were, like that was like the second minute, I think, of extra stoppage time. You're back to the goal, and you did like that. You're just makes it all clear to me what you like was going through your head. You're just like, I don't give a shit. I'm on the high. I'm on a
just nothing to lose kind of attitude. And like, it's just nothing to lose. And if I had thought about the crowd or anything like that, I can guarantee my touch would have been all over the place. But I don't know. I was just so loose, and I mean, I was buzzing. Like, I was so happy to get an opportunity to play in front of that crowd. And I always just felt the looser you were, the better you played. And that, I guess that third goal kind of sums it up.
And now you're a god in Iran, so your pictures at the airport and everything like that. So I could literally talk to you all day about football, but I know you're a busy man. So the last question I ask everybody who comes on the show, you're going to play a 5-side tournament. From all the players you've played with, who makes your team?
Oh, 5-a-side. Do they have to be any positions?
You can. Some people don't even play a goalkeeper; they just play an extra defender. So,
I mean, well, okay.
You can include yourself if you want to, but you don't have to. If you want to be the head coach, you're more than welcome to. So whatever you want.
I'll just watch from far. All right. Okay. Let me think. Right. Straight away. The best player I ever played with was an Iran legend, a guy called Ali Karimi. Nice. A wizard with a ball. I mean, absolute wizard with a ball. So he'd be number one on my team. I think, and some people might be like, really, I think I would probably add, when I was playing over in Malaysia, we played a 4-4-1-1. I was the highest one, and right behind me was El Haj Juf. And he was, like, off the pitch, he was an absolute messer. I mean, honestly, like, the stories I have about him off the pitch. But on the pitch, like, physically, he was, he wasn't going to chase anything, but give him the ball. I mean, I think I got 11 goals that year. He must have set me up for about 8. But if you watch the assists, I mean, I just make a run and he's like pinpoint on my foot. He was, and I can only imagine what he was like in his prime. Like, if he wasn't such a messer off the pitch, I'd say he would have went even further than he went, So Ali Karimi, El Haj Juf are definitely in the top 2 of that 5-a-side. Right. I mean,
not a bad start, that is it?
that was the easy part. Okay, let me think. Oh, well, I mean, I'm going to put in, you need somebody on the team that's just going to get around the pitch, work, and has ability as well. Don't get me wrong, has ability, but I mean, I'd say they would just be nasty in a 5-a-side, and they'd be all over the pitch, non-stop, 100 miles an hour. James McLean. I'm gonna put him in. He was great. Loved playing with him in Derry. But the one thing that stood out was his work ethic. I mean, he used to like jog up and down from training, and he lived like 2 miles up a hill. He was just a workhorse, and he's a great example for youngsters, right? Honestly, for young kids coming through, what an example of, like, he had ability, but did he have Premier League ability? I don't know. Nobody was sure, but he absolutely worked his balls off. Like, honestly, and you see it with the Irish team, like, whatever about, sometimes people have things to say about the quality or whatever the case is. It gives 100%. You just cannot fault his effort.
You see it like in the off season when he's boxing and stuff like that, and like, man, he's training like a fighter. Like, I mean, I know he did like the thing with Mayweather's dad and all that kind of stuff, but like, you see the effort he puts in even to that, man. It's like he gives a shit about what he's doing. So
no, he does. Workhorse, and he a winner. Honestly, you'd want him on your team, any team. So right, that's 3. Let me think. So many. There's so many. I'm trying to think. I have somebody from. I mean, I could name a few. I have someone from my Iran days, someone from Asia. I think I would. Yeah, I'd put Keith Fahey in there.
Nice.
Yeah, he was a talent. Got to briefly play with him in Drogheda, but then underage and the under. Hold on, can I include like international players as well that I played with?
Of course. I was looking at Iran. You played at the 2003 FIFA. Like Stephen Elliott, like the team.
Yeah, some great players. Yeah. I'll put Keith Fahey there because he was great. He was a great player. Again, he was just, he could do great things with the ball from midfield. And he could score a goal. I mean, he has some wonder goals for Pats. Remember the year before he went to England. I mean, and you know what? Again, years, my very first trial when I was 16 years of age was over to Arsenal. And it was my very first trial, and I was Arsenal were playing Fiorentina in Wembley Stadium, and because Keith Fahey was Irish, and I was obviously Irish, he had already signed there. They asked him to look after me and take me to the game, and I'll never forget. I was always thankful for him for doing that. I didn't know him; he didn't have to, but that was my first time I met him. And my very first trial, and he looked after me. To be fair to him,
Wow.
So yeah, no, he was excellent. So what we have. 4 players there. I mean, I feel like I need like a defensive player. Let me think. Who would I have in defense? Do you know what? I'll stick that under-20 World Cup team with Ireland. I mean, there was numerous players went on to play for the national team. One guy who actually has gone on to be a really good coach actually for Crystal Palace, Paddy McCarthy. I used to have battles with him when I was 13, 14 years of age. He played for Stella Maris and I played for St. Joseph's. And I used to have major battles with him, and then hated playing against him. Honestly, hated playing against him. But then got to play with him for the Irish team, and he just had that presence. He was big, tall, and good knowledge of the game. I'll be honest, I wasn't sure. I remember how far he could go, but he went down and had a very good career, to be fair. And he's apparently a very, very good coach. I think the Crystal Palace in the 23 team. So
love it. So can you just do a wee recap for me there of who you've picked?
So right, we have a defender. We finally found a defender. Right, we have Paddy McCarthy. We have James McLean, Keith Fahey, El
Hadj Juff.
Can you still see me there? Yeah.
Yeah, we can still see you.
I don't know what's happened to my screen. Anyway, we'll have El Hadj Juff, and we'll have Ali Karimi as the captain, and I will have I'll have Stephen Kenny as coach. Best manager I ever played with.
Nice.
I'll have Stephen Kenny managing it.
Love it, man. Love it. So I really appreciate you giving me so much time, man. It's been great talking to you. As I said, I could probably talk to you for the next 10 hours. You're had an incredible career, and you've got like such a great way of looking at the game. So I can't wait to see what 2022 brings, man. I'll definitely be a fan of the Northern Colorado Hailstorm.
That's great. Yeah, good man.
So I look forward to see all the updates on Instagram and Twitter. Where can people find you on social media to keep track of what's happening with the club?
Well, obviously my page, Eamon Zayed 12. I think it's Eamon Zayed _12 on Instagram, Eamon Zayed on Twitter, but then Hailstorm FC on both Twitter and Instagram. I don't know the exact URL, but Hailstorm FC, Northern Colorado Hailstorm FC. You'll find them on social media. Come and support us. No, I'm excited. We're going to build something really, really good here now.
I can't wait to watch it.